Hello there and welcome to Tom's Warhammer Minis. Yvraine, known as the Daughter of Shades, is a fearsome warrior and psyker. She was once brought back to life by the power of the Aeldari god of the dead. Accompanied by her Dryranks familiar, she is an absolutely phenomenal model, and despite her exquisite, intricate detail and the freehanding required to really bring about her character, she is, with the power of contrast paints, very straightforward and easy to paint, even when she's fully assembled. Now, at some point in the future, I will be painting up the rest of the Triumvirate of Yinnead, as in the Berserker and the Yinkan, so rest assured they will be coming in the future. But until then, grab your paints, grab your brushes, let's get hot. And we're beginning with Yvraine. She's an absolutely stunning model and presents a really unique challenge when it comes to painting. So let's just talk a couple of things before we go into what we're doing here. Just the basics and understanding what we've sort of got to work with, how we're priming it, things to note, and things I won't be doing, which you'll understand why, and it's obviously optional whether you follow that or not follow it, obviously. Now, she is fully assembled, which creates a huge problem. Not because of her pet cat, although that is in the way, though you can absolutely reach all the areas, be it under the cat, round the side, to the front. Every area can be reached except the inside of her skirt and the back of her leg. You can reach it, but it's going to be incredibly messy, incredibly tricky. It's why if you want it fully painted, sub-assembly is required. But what I'm going to be doing, or when I show it, and it's very hard to see because obviously the shadows are in the way, and you can just about see a sort of white silhouette on the inside, which is her other leg. I'm not going to be painting it. It's as simple as that. Why go to all that stress of doing the inside of the cloak, which you can barely see, or to the leg, when you can use something very tactical, i.e. a rather large grass tuft, stick it underneath between the cat, behind that leg, literally block out the entire view. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Obviously I won't be applying that to the very end when the model's painted, but it's just something worthy to note. Other than that, the model's fully primed in white scar. Let's get started with what we're going to be doing. I'm working on a cloak. I'm going to be doing it from sort of base coating, shading, highlighting, and I'm going to move from the bottom upwards. So let's start with the colours here. You might think it's Sigvuld Burgundy, and it is, but it's not quite right on its own. We're going to take 4 parts of Sigvuld Burgundy. I'm going to mix it with 1 part of Leviathan Purple, which is going to push it towards that sort of purpley colour, but still, you know, quintessentially Sigvuld Burgundy. And I'm taking 1 part of Lahmium Medium. So 4 parts Sigvuld, 1 part Leviathan, 1 part Lahmium Medium. And that Lahmium Medium is really going to help the flow, especially as we move down all these areas. Obviously focus on the recesses, make sure it's not pooling excessively. We don't want that. Always start from the top to the bottom, though where I mean by starting at the top, I started underneath this sort of band that's going around her, starting there, going down, filling that section afterwards. So get that done, let it completely dry, and then we're going to shade it. And the shade I'm using here is Carroburg Crimson. Essentially, it's the perfect complementary colour. It's going to just enhance the overall purple that we've got on there. But it's also going to act as a subtle varnish. When you paint, you know, Lahmium Medium, which conceal a transfer, you're essentially seeing the contrast paint on top as well. It's not a 100% guarantee of protection against chipping, but when you've got areas like this on the edge of the cloak, contrast paints do rub off. This is just going to give it a little bit more of a chance of being protected. So, get that done, let it dry, and we'll move on to the next stage. Next up, we're going to finish off all of that beautiful purple dress. Nice and simple, edge highlighting, but done via dry brushing. We're not going to go down edge highlighting in the traditional sense, unless of course you want to. That's entirely up to you, but with so many perfect folds like this, it's screaming dry brush me. Not literally screaming, but you know what I mean. The colour is going to be Pink Horror. First of all, take a small dry brush because we don't want to catch the other areas, and just simply dry brush this on. Catch as many of the edges as possible. Now, Pink Horror is rather a dull colour. It's a great colour, but it's dull against this kind of purple. In a sense, it will pick up the edges, but it's going to be very subtle. Visible, but subtle. We want it to be a bit brighter, but first of all, we just want every part of it dry brushed. Then, once you're done, we're still using a small dry brush. We're going to use Fulgrim Pink. This is the real other end on the pink scale of Citadel paints. It is super bright and super vibrant, but when you dry brush it, we're really just catching the raised areas now rather than overall dry brush, just hitting it where light hits the most, and it just makes it pop really nicely, as you can see. So take your time, get that done. If at any, we're not going to worry too much about this because it's going to be black, but say for this one, which is very light, sort of white and blue, if you do catch it with either this color or the pink or the purples, it's okay, we can correct it with white scar. So get that done, we'll move on to the next step. Next up, we're focusing on the beautiful intricate sort of lace patterning that we have at the back of her dress here. Now when you look at the box art, at a quick glance it's black, but for your eagle-eyed views, when you look really closely, it's a very, very dark purple, almost bordering black, but not. So we're going to go back to Leviathan Purple, take a small airbrush and just simply paint it straight over all of that lace patterning. Now at this stage it doesn't look quite right. We are going to dry brush it one more time, but for now, get that in place. I'm showing you what it looks like at this state, and then we'll give it a nice dry brush and pick out all that colouring and make it really vibrant and stand out. Next up, I have dry brushed that purple, and the colour I have used is Kakophoni Purple. Now essentially, I've just given it a very light dry brush all over. And as I got to the centre here, I've given it a more heavier dry brush. As you can see, it's taken away the Leviathan Purple, and since there's no recessed shading, you can always add a little tiny bit and create that natural edge highlight if you want to. Essentially what I wanted to do here, and if you can imagine it, light's hitting it, this is the centralmost part, therefore it's the brightest, and you've got to admit, from a distance like that, it does stand out nice and vibrantly, even closer up like that. So get that done, and for now our cloak is absolutely complete, and we're going to move on to the next step. Next up, we're going to base coat the dry rinks, the waistcloth, as well as the head plume and the sash that's attached to the waistcloth. The colour is going to be Pylar Glacier. This is a really nice transparent but very soft subtle blue, as you can quite rightly see. Now with the dry rinks, this is not the overall colour, and neither is the head plume. Once again, we treat this as an underlayer, but nice and simply we just want to get a nice solid base coat all over, and it is going to be the main colour for our sash cloth. It's very pale, very white, with a very soft blue undertone. This is why it's the absolute perfect paint for it. So get those details done, and when they're dry, we're going to dry brush all of them, and the colour is going to be white scar. Essentially it's going to be the highlight for the waistcloth and sash. For the others, it's just picking out the muscles, etc., the edges of that, because when we do a different colour over it later on, it's just going to help blend into it, have that soft subtle highlight. It just works in our favour. Now a little tip when doing the dry brushing, we don't want white flecks to splatter off and hit our dress. So when I was doing it, essentially I'm holding it at this kind of angle and I'm brushing this way. So if there was any sort of mishappen of paint being flipped or flicked off, it's going to go this way rather than this way. Just something to point out. Same up here when you're flicking with a dry brush, going this way rather than that way. Just those kind of things just to be aware of. Otherwise you'll end up having little white speckled dots all over it, which we don't want to have. So get that done and we'll move on to the next step. Next up, we're going to start base coating our red details. Now, obviously it's not red. We're going to go with Gryph Hound Orange. It's not thinned down. This is our underlayer. We're going to build up to that red in the next step, but we just want something in place just to really make it pop and vibrant later on. So this is the fan, her corset, and this armoured glove that she's got. Nice and simple. Base coat those. There is a gem here. If you catch it, it's not the end of the world. It's going to be painted in metallics later on. So get that done, let it dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. Next up, we're going to finish off those red details. So to begin with, we're going to take Baal Red. Now, if you've seen my tutorials, you know exactly what we're doing. We're painting up to the highlight edge, but not including those edges, meaning that Gryph Hound Orange that we've just done remains the actual highlight that's in place. Now, there's not many highlights, in a sense, on this model. I would use the box art as reference, but certainly around the corset. But essentially, what I've done, if I can get the camera to focus, there's a very subtle edge highlight line, which is going to be the Gryph Hound Orange, obviously. It's just going down vertically, just here, and on the other side, just here. It's so subtle, it's so tiny in that sense. It's up to you whether you want to do that or not. The real edge highlights, of course, being the actual gauntlet and the fan. So get that Baal Red in place. It's going to look very bright, very vivid, and rather out of place to begin with. We need a shade paint to tie it together. And the perfect colour for this is Berserker Bloodshade. Don't overload it. In the sense like this area here, we want that Baal Red to show through. Apply too much of this and it's going to dry too darkly, but get the right amount, just a nice even there all over. It will darken the creases ever so slightly, but just leave that real nice boldness of the Baal Red. So get that done, and our red armour is complete. Next up, for Yvraine, we're going to start base coating that black sort of soft seal armour that she has, part of her core set. Now, nice and simply, we are creating an underlayer. The colour is going to be Space Wolves Grey. This is going to be our edge highlight colour. We're going to build it up to black in the next step. So, just use the box art as reference. Essentially, it's just this top section here. Obviously, the gauntlet covers her hand on that one, but on this one, she does have bare fingers. It's very easily identifiable in that sense, but just use the box art for reference if you need to. And just as a reminder, obviously, I've painted this leg. The inside leg, though, her right one, I've not painted. We're going to cover that with a tactical tuft right between there. It's going to cover it. There's no need to stress about it. One little point to note, or should I say two, you've got this little bit of top knot. That's just here, that's between her hair, and obviously where the hair plume goes around the back here. It is done in black. I'm not base coating that. Simple is only a tiny area. We can do that in Black Templar next. Same as the weapon grip of her sword. We're not doing that in the Space Wolves Grey either. The other bit I have done with Space Wolves Grey, as you can see, is her eyes. When you look at the box art, she's got this eyeshadow and makeup around. So this is a perfect colour. It's not too dark, but it's dark enough in the recesses that it's absolutely perfect and stands out really nicely against that sort of cool elven flesh tone that we'll be painting soon. So get that done, let it dry, and we'll move on to the black. Next up, we're going to finish off all of that black armour. So to begin with, we are taking Black Templar. Now there's a couple of things to note. You've got this belt buckle here. Now I didn't do this in Space Wolves Grey. What I've done with this is just simply paint the Black Templar straight on, making sure it's heavier in that sort of middle recess part, lighter, or just a normal sort of coating on the edge, just to create a subtly different edge highlight from what you're going to see on Yvraine herself. Obviously, all these bits that are lighter blue, mostly is going to be gold detailing, which you can see on the box art. But that's just a note with that one. But for the Black Templar, we're once again painting up to the edge, not including the edges, to have that subtle highlight in place. It's rather tricky, though, on this type of model. This is something with Aeldari. It's not something that I personally paint a lot of. It is a tricky one in the sense that there's lots of curvatures where normally edge highlights just wouldn't be in place. There's just that odd kind of faction. I really recommend using the box art here. It's what I did, and it just helps you see where the heavy metal team placed their highlights, and it just means in this method we can really control where that edge highlight is going to be. So get that done. Other things to note, like I said, you've got this little top knot here that I've done. Obviously you've got the main armour, you've got the belt, you've got the sword grip here, but also the tattoos on the face. And once again, using the box art just to really see what they've done and just recreate it exactly the same. All I've done is with the Black Templar, I have the tiniest tip on the edge of a small airbrush, and I've copied the box art exactly. So get that done, let it dry. We're going to shade it, and it's going to be Drakenhof Nightshade. We're not shading everything. This is just going to be for the actual main sort of black corset, as well as the leg. It's as simple as that. And then I've done just the belt here. The rest of it we haven't got to worry about. So get that done, and our black armour is finished. Next up, we're going to base coat and finish these little ropes that are holding up the medallions around the belt. And then we're going to do her skin tone and finish it off completely. So let's start with those little ropes going around that black belt. The base coat colour here is Agrax Earthshade. On its own over White Scar, it is a absolutely phenomenal rope kind of colour. So just simply base coat that on. Now, when it's completely dry, we just want to do a very subtle dot highlight. The colour is going to be Powdered Witch Flesh, and the areas that I've done the dot highlight on are just on the top bits here, where the top part of the belt edge is. Just where light would hit, just a simple dot, nice and simple, finishes them off. For our skin tone, we're going to go with Reikland Fleshshade. Now, this is really great for elves. All I've done is just one simple base coat. It's not thinned down, just as it is, out of the pot. Just base coat that on, let it settle into the recesses. Don't worry if it goes over the eye or the tattoo, because the recess part of that eye is done. That's not going to get affected, and the actual eyeball we're going to re-layer anyway as we get to the end. So base coat that all on, and once again we're going to go to spot highlights and just a couple of edge highlights on the actual cheekbones here where they're slightly raised, and the colour is Flayed One Flesh. It's going to be very subtle. It just really just makes it subtly pop, which is exactly what we want. So get that done, and our skin tone and those ropes are completely done. We're going to base coat the hair, and then while it's drying, we're going to base coat our sword. But we'll come to that in a second. First of all, Yvraine's hair. It has a very dark and black tip towards this end, which we'll do once it's dry. but we kind of need an underlayer as well as the base coat for the sort of black-white, kind of recessed shading as well as highlight. Nuln Oil is absolutely perfect here. We're going to literally base coat the entirety of her hair, nice and simple. Now, obviously check for pooling. Start from the top, work your way down, work your way down. In that sense, we don't want to start here and go upwards because gravity is going to drain that Nuln Oil down. So check for pooling, but once you're happy, let it dry. We're going to move on to the sword. The sword's an interesting one. There isn't an actual contrast paint that's going to work for what we want. We are going to gloss varnish it at the end, but we need that underlayer colour. It's this off kind of green that's not quite green. It's going towards the paler tones, and the colour is Deepkin Flesh. So nice and simply, just base coat it on. I've done 2 layers just for a solid colour, nice and thin. Just get it all on. We're going to tint the blue onto it. We're then going to do white highlights and varnish it at the end. But for now, get that in place while that's drying, and we'll move on to the next step. Next up, we're going to finish off base coating Yvraine's hair. The colour is going to be Black Templar. Nice and simply, I've started roughly around this point here, painting it upwards, and then not doing down here yet, just this section here. Wash your brush, and while it's damp but not sodden, we're going to feather out and blend that Black Templar into sort of the Nuln Oil area that we got up here. So if you're not sure what feathering is, essentially it's that sort of blending transition which we use with contrast paints. Water doesn't work with contrast paints. What happens with water, it breaks down the pigmentation and the molecules, so it just goes completely wrong and it doesn't work. However, with a damp brush, maybe just quickly painted it on, and as soon as it is painted on, essentially we're breaking down the molecules towards the area we don't want it to be. So just creates that nice natural transitioning blend. So get that section done first, take it bit by bit, and it's quite easy this one because you've got loose hair strands, for example here, you've got this section here, and that section there. So take it section by section, get that done, and then just paint the Black Templar as you would normally. I'm not going to highlight the hair yet, and it will make sense because we're going to do it in white scar. We're going to do the same on the sword when that's ready. There's no point doing it now just to do it again. It's going to be a dry brush. We can do it all in one fell swoop. So get the Black Templar done, and we'll move on to the next step. Next up, we're going to start building up that blue for the dry ranks, for the sword, and we're also going to finish off the plumes up here. So the colour we're going to start with is going to be Aethermatic Blue. It's a very good blue. It's a lot stronger than Pylar Glacier. It's got a slightly different tone, and it's exactly what we want, especially for that dry ranks. So take 2 parts of Aethermatic Blue, and we're going to need a lot of control here. We're going to take 1 part of Lahmium Medium. It's already a very thin blue as it is. Not as thin as Pylar Glacier, but we just want to have a lot of control and almost glaze it over in certain areas. So create that mix, 2 to 1. Start with the head plume. Nice and simply, we're painting up to the edges, not including the edges, except you've got this little central parting that's all the way down. It's a bit hard to see on the camera. It's right in the middle. It's white. I painted straight over it because the Lahmium Medium that we've used in that mix is going to stretch the paint. So when you apply it on, you're not going to actually do any difference to it. And because we're going to highlight it later with a dry brush, it's not going to matter if you accidentally catch it. So paint up to the edges of the outsides and just leave it as that. That means the blue on there is done. We're only doing 1 coat there. For the dry ranks and for the sword, we're going to apply 2 coats. So we're going to start with the dry ranks because that's going to be the biggest thing to talk about here. Simply, I've started at the bottom of the tail here, work my way up, cover the back of the legs, inside the legs. Then we're going to paint it over the top of the body. And as we get to this section here, we're going to quickly wash our brush, and this is on both sides, feather it out, nice and simple. Then paint the rest of this leg in its entirety, this leg in its entirety. When you come to the head, I start at the back of the head, paint the Aethermatic Blue all the way down, around the nose, both ears, inside and out. Nice and simple. Let it dry, do the exact same again. So we've got 2 layers of Aethermatic Blue in that exact same style, and we've got this nice transitional blend where the actual under tummy is nice and light. For the sword, start up here, again following the box art for this one. Start up here, paint it up, feather it out. Down here, feather it out. Under blade side here, paint down this way, feather it out. And we're doing the exact same just to show you on the other side. It's literally the mirror opposite. So do exactly the same. Top, feather out, bottom part here, feather it out, tip, bottom part here, paint down, feather out. And exactly like the dry ranks, I've done that twice. So do it once, let it dry, apply the second coat, exactly the same, feather it out, let it dry. Once that's all done, let it dry, and then we'll highlight it. Next up, we're going to take White Scar, and most of these is going to be a dry brush. I am going to do a bit of small layer brush kind of work, but we'll go to that in a minute. So with the dry brush, we're going to cover the hair to start off with. Now be very careful how you flick this, because we don't want white spots ending up on her dress. So as much as you can, in a sense, I would have my model turn like this, and I'm flicking this way. So any spots that do flick off, they're coming towards this direction rather than that direction. Just bear that in mind as you do it. But all the hair is dry brushed. The actual blue plume that we got here, I've just dry brushed the middle section because we'd already done it earlier. So just get that there. The outer edge is already White Scar enough, and it just finishes it off nicely. The sword is dry brushed. We just want to catch the edge highlights on that one, which is nice and simple. And I've also dry brushed the dry ranks just because it gives a subtle edge highlight. A lot of it's going to have a darker blue over when we do that pattern next, but it just means that it will be slightly lighter where that paint is on the edges we've caught. So for instance, this being a perfect example, when I paint the darker blue over it, it's going to be slightly brighter there. It means the highlight's in place. Now for the small layer brush that I'm using, it's just the tiniest tip, and it's just to paint in the eyes, just so we can dot them later. So you've got Yvraine's eyes, but I've also done it on the dry ranks eyes because they're going to be painted in yellow too, which we'll do in the next step. So with that done, the hair is complete. The sword is mostly complete. We are going to varnish it, but we'll do that when we come to doing the gems. So there's no point worrying about it now. And the dry ranks is pretty much almost there. So we're going to focus on that next. Next up, we're going to be doing the eyes, finishing off the skin tone of the dry ranks, as well as all that nice patterning. So let's start with the eyes, and this is for the dry ranks only. To begin with, because we relayered it in White Scar, we're going to take the tiniest amount on the tip of a small brush of Imperial Fist. It gives a real nice, small, thin, very smooth yellow finish, which is exactly what we want. Once that's done, let it dry. We're going to go to the patterning here, and the colour is going to be Stormfiend. Now, essentially, it's not that difficult at all. Whatever we do on this side, we're mirroring on the other side, and you can absolutely reach a brush in. Now, I've left this one blank to begin with to show you exactly what we're doing. Essentially, you're painting an upside down triangle. You've got this central line here that's going along the back. It's quite visible. It's not really visible here because obviously I painted it over, but it is visible. So start at that line and paint an upside down triangle, and essentially that's what we're looking for. And then just do these little jagged lines. It's as simple as that. Same with the diamonds. Just copy the box art if you want to. I haven't done the tail yet, just to show you that it's just that simple. Obviously I've got to fill that in, but this is the kind of effect we're looking for. Just let that all go, paint it on bit by bit, mirroring the other side. It's nice and simple. The inside legs, there's only 2 little diamonds. That's all we have to do. Same on the other side. So obviously do that. For the face, we've got a bit more complexity to it. Essentially, in the ears, we're still using Stormfiend, but we're doing a recessed shade. So you've got the outermost bit here on the inside, then you've got another bit, and an even smaller bit in there. It's absolutely tiny to do. Now that inside bit here goes all the way around, down the side of the face, up to the nose. We're painting the nose. You're then filling in the mouth with the Stormfiend, and doing the exact same on the other ear. And for the eyes, you've got a little dash on the top and a little dash underneath. You'll see that on the box art. Nice and simple, get that done. And then for Yvraine's eyes, we're going to dot them with Abaddon Black. So it's just the tiniest tip and dot them. For the dry ranks, we're not dotting them, we're just doing a vertical line. After all, it's feline, it's completely different. So get that done. Obviously I'm going to do the tail as well, and I'll fill in that section, but it just shows you the kind of idea of what we're looking for. And next up, we're going to base coat all of our metallic details. So it's going to be gold and it's going to be silver. There is a lot of gold and it is highly intricate. The colour is going to be Retributor Armour. It's the best base paint out there for the Citadel range that's going to get this bright vividness. So take your time. When we're doing this one, I'm sort of using the back of the brush just to really catch those intricate little details that you see around. There's a lot to cover. So I just might as well do a 360. You've got all the gems, and I'm painting them in their entirety. You've got this entire blade, as well as the handle and grip of the sword. You've got a headdress. You've got the necklace around the gyranks. You've got the little neck sort of ankle bracelet, as well as the trim. It's just a lot. So again, I'll just do another little 360, let you really capture it. Use the box art as reference. It's really going to give you guidance. One of the tips I'm going to give for doing the gold, especially in this intricate area here, you might catch, like the black, you might catch the red. Now, it's not the end of the world. What I've done here is just a little bit here, but you can't really see it now. Essentially, if you do Nuln Oil for the black, just settle it into the recess, and Berserker Bloodshade into the recess there. But, like I say, just used, rather than pushing the brush into it, just slide the brush along sort of the edge of the brush just to catch those raised areas. It's quite subtle to do. So get that done. Our silver is much less to do. It is going to be Iron Warriors. It's mostly the fan. As you can see, she's got the little blades of the fan and the little handle that she's holding, and that can be seen on both sides. The only other bit of silver to mention, if I can just focus the camera, the gyranks, he's got this little chin hair. He's just got a little bracelet that's holding it in place there. Nice and simple. And then the gyranks has got two little earrings, one there and the double one there. That's the only silver details to do. The rest I've done in gold. So get that done, let it dry, and then we'll shade it. Next up, we're going to make Yvraine battle ready. Though in fairness, she's well beyond that stage. So let's talk shading. First of all, we're going to focus on the gold details, and it's going to be Reikland Fleshshade. But in terms of shading our metallics, we're doing very, very little. There isn't that need to actually do much. You've got the headdress. You've got this little bit on top of her hair. You've got the grip of the sword, including the blade. And then round her waistcloth, you've got these little spikes that are protruding there. And you've got the gyranks' necklace. Nice and simple. That's the only bits I'm shading. All our other details, so all the little gems, that kind of stuff, all these little trinkets, all this sort of exquisite detail, I'm not shading. There is absolutely 0 point, and you'll be taking away that metallic shine. I'm not even going to be highlighting them either, in the sense of a relayer. They don't need it. So just keep that Retributor Armour in place in its purest shiny form. So to shade those little details, the same for our silver. There's only a limited amount to do, and I'm using Drakenhof Nightshade here because it's going to really stand out nicely. You've just got the fan. It's literally as simple as that. And the gyranks' earrings on this side. Not this side, that's a single one. You do have a little recess shade on this one. So, once again, making it nice and simple. Now, I have done the freehanding. The colour I used here was Flash Gets Yellow. Nice and simply, if you're copying the box art, it's relatively simple. And my suggestion here is you do the symbol at the bottom first, because that dictates how much room you've got for this straight line. And for the straight line, you're literally just doing a straight line down, and then just a flick to the right. Same on the other side. It is a bit tricky to get to. As you can see, the bottom I've covered slightly with stone and mud, although that's a bit more tactical to what we're going to be doing inside there, but I'll explain that in a second. So, Flash Gets Yellow was the colour for that one. For all of our gems, I am picking them out in Stormhost Silver, so they're going to have a nice bright sort of background when I put a contrast paint over them in the next step. There are lots of gems to cover. I'll do a little quick 360. In a sense, there's no point pointing them all out. You can spot there's so many, and again, just refer to the box art should you need to. Now for our base, I've taken advantage of getting that done. I've gone with Stir the Mud. Now whatever base you do apply, and assuming that you're going to go with similar to me, I've applied it a bit more heavily, being obviously careful of the gyranks, more inside there, just behind her leg. In a sense, it's raising it up so ever so slightly, so when I apply a tough, it's just going to be ever so slightly more raised. It's really going to cover the inside, which is not painted. So there's a little bit of tactical there. And yes, I've caught it on the cloak, but it's more deliberate just building it up because you're not going to notice a thing when I put a tuft there. So does it have to be perfect? No, because it's going to get covered. Nice and simple. If you've gone with Stern and Mud, I like to shade it just to give a bit more detail. And the colour I've used here is Agrax Earthshade. With that done, let it all dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. Next up, we're going to finish off Yvraine, and it's going to be really nice and simple. We've just got a couple of edge highlights, and they're very limited in what we're doing. First of all, Liberator Gold is going to be for our gold details. Now, really, I've just focused this on the areas where I shaded, just to buff them up, give it that nice brightness. I have done the front part of this sort of corset that's in gold, just the edges, just to really make them pop. And it's areas like that where light's really hitting. So it's like the little gold bangle around the legs, that kind of thing, the rings, just to really make them pop just that little bit more. But there's not much to do. It's the same for our silver details. There's hardly anything, so it's Stormhost Silver here. It's just to really catch the brightest edges. For instance, the Gyranx's earrings and little bits on the fan. That's all there is. So it's really nice and simple. Our big area of focus is the gemstones. And the simplest way I like to do gemstones, you can absolutely highlight them in the sense of that real heavy metal style that the other painters do. I find Arco is just nice. It's simple. That gloss finish does exactly what you need to do. Remember, this is a model. When you're going to be looking at it from the tabletop, you're looking at it from that distance. So having that natural shine in place is far more what you're going to see rather than up close and personal. So let's talk the colours. There are three in that sense. There's red, there's blue, there is pink. And rather than pointing out each one that I've done, I'm just explaining the three colours. I'll do a little 360 for you so you can see. But really, I recommend using the box art here. And this is exactly what I've done. Every gemstone, the colour that you're seeing here is mimicking the box art. So, the colours for the blue, nice and simple, is Frostheart. It's a nice, bright, bold blue that's not too dark, it's not too bright, it literally just stands out exactly like the colour that you see. For our red ones, nice and simple. You don't want too much on your brush, otherwise it's too dark. Just the tiniest amount on the tip of Blood Angel's red. Our pink gems are nice and simple, they do require a mix. We're going to take Doomfire Magenta, but on its own it is very, very strong. So I have thinned it down in a 1-to-1 mix with Lahmium Medium. Simply just dulling it, but still keeping that real strong pink consistency. And again, just then paint it over. Don't have too much on the brush, but just be aware of the Lahmium Medium, it will pull away. So we just need to make sure we've got a nice even layer, like you see on that one there, where it's just a solid pink with a stronger recess around the edge. So, get that done. And like I said, I've used a gloss varnish. I use Art Coat, but nice and simply, you can just use any gloss varnish, paint that over all the gems, and I've also painted it over the sword blade itself. Bit hard, well, you can just about see there where the light reflects. It just makes that sort of dull colour that we've created, which mimics the box art, just stand out that little bit more when light hits it. Nice and simple. Moving on from that, we're just focusing on the base. Obviously, I've put the texture on. Obviously, I shaded it with Backpack Surf Shade. I've just done a cheeky dry brush of Screaming Skull just to pick it out. We don't have to go crazy on that because we are going to be putting grass and tufts and all that kind of jazz down, but it just helps pick out the details. So with that done, Yvraine is complete. Obviously be careful when you do the dry brushing with the Screaming Skull, we don't want to catch the cloak. All we need to do, add the tufts, neaten the rim of the base, and we're finished. And there we have it. Yvraine is complete, and as you can see, those little extra tufts just really add to the model, and if placed strategically, like I said, you haven't got to worry about the inside leg or the inside of the cloak, making this model much simpler to do and less to worry about. She is an absolutely fantastic model. It's one of those ones for years that I've often thought, I don't know how to paint it, what would I do, where do you start, and it's just a joy to showcase to all of you. Now, if this video has helped and inspired, then please show that hobby love. Give the video a like, share so others can find and get supported in painting their models too, as well as finding my channel and the many guides that exist on here already. And if you haven't, then please subscribe. It really is support that helps this channel grow, and equally, supporting me means I get to continue supporting you, the awesome Warhammer community. So, until the next video, do look after yourselves, and happy hobbying.